Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an update on Donald Trump potentially annexing Greenland. The situation is evolving, and just like I predicted, there's going to have to be persuasion involved here. Donald Trump wants to do this diplomatically. He's an extremely sweet, nice person. And so now there's a report that he might be offering around $10,000 per year per Greenland resident, and it's 57,000 people total. It can easily be done. This is all Doge money. They're like, oh, it's tax money. Like, look at this. You see how they format this. The White House is considering using our tax dollars, using our tax dollars to give $10,000 per year to every person in Greenland. New York Times. That's from this article I'm going to go to. No, it's the Doge money that is saved. Remember, Doge said we're saving 1.5 trillion over the next 10 years. That's according to the new budget. So all of this money is going to be saved, and we're going to make it back. Then you've also got this story. This is just insane. A Space Force commander publicly undermining J.D. Vance to win points with Denmark, saying what J.D. Vance did was bad, and that she put out a statement and said that this is not something that I would have liked to happen, or she sent out an email. This woman gets fired immediately. This is terrible. How is someone even, this is total undermining the executive branch and the vice president. Absolutely disgusting. And the woman's been removed. And I can't even imagine why someone that clueless would be in a position like that in the first place. Let's go back to this. Inside Trump's plan to get Greenland persuasion, not invasion. The island's population might not be easily convinced as the president tries to clinch what he sees as one of history's greatest real estate deals. And we know this. We've talked about Greenland, guys. It's extremely critical to have Arctic presence, not just when you're talking about Alaska, but also with Greenland and maybe even the Canadian Northern Territories. But when it comes to Greenland, you're talking about our access, and this will probably change, but right now, China is looking to restrict our access when it comes to rare earths. They control about 60 to 70% of the rare earth deposits. They have extreme control, and so we're trying to change that. Greenland has a lot of rare earths, almost as much as the United States, possibly more when you talk about glacier melt, maybe unearthing more rare earths. We're just talking about along the coastline. They almost have as much as the total United States. So it's extremely important for the rare earths. It's extremely important for a presence in the Arctic. When you're talking about the Northwest Passage, when you're talking about the Davis Strait, when you're talking about access to Nunavut and that area up around Canada. Remember, you look at Greenland, it's a vessel to North America, and that's really what Trump needs to swing here. This is a North American country. It's closer to North America than it is to Europe. And so, I mean, it is right next to Canada and right next to Nunavut. And we're talking about getting a presence in the Arctic. We know it's been extremely unpopular. I did a video on it a few weeks ago. American citizens they don't understand the importance of this. They don't realize the situation to where Greenland is controlled by Denmark, yet their living quality is so low because Denmark can't pay the amount because of how secluded Greenland is in terms of their geography. They've got a huge fishing industry, but outside of that, they've got very low quality jobs. The United States can bring industry. We can bring a huge mining operation and higher quality, higher paying jobs, and really up the quality of life with an infrastructure buildup and significant technology advancement within the country. So we're going to raise their quality of life. We're going to potentially give them $10,000 a year. This is a great deal, but it's this, oh, you're a fascist. You're just imperialistically taking over all these countries. No, this is a territory. They've got 57,000 people. They would not become a state. It's impossible. They don't have the population. So this is all very critical that people understand that. But when you talk about this, I said, yeah, I came out yesterday and said on my stream, Trump should just start bribing these Greenland officials. Who cares? Who really cares? It's all legal. You can do it. Just bribe them. Just give them money. And then they can turn the tides when it comes to the citizens. It's not a lot of people to convince. We see polls where it's like 95% of the people of Greenland dislike the United States because they've been getting pumped with EU propaganda via Denmark because they're a proxy EU country, and it's just a total mess in Europe. They hate Trump, and it's really, really bad. But you can see the point of this is when you You give them money, it's a way of persuasion, and it's a way of just buying Greenland and buying the people's opinions to support the annexation by the United States. And again, you're also talking about, this is why I always mention, we've never made Greenland an actual offer. So right now, the people of Greenland just think we're going to take over, nothing's going to change. No, everything is going to change within Greenland for the better. We're not looking to change your culture. That's another false narrative. They're going to change it to an American culture. Why don't you go to Hawaii? There's still significant Hawaiian culture. It feels vastly different than the 48 connected states. And to a degree, the same thing with Alaska as well, even though there's been significant migration up to Alaska. So the claim that, oh, we would change Greenland and destroy their culture is completely false. Even if there was movement to Greenland, it would be people looking for better jobs, if there were mining jobs up there, and it wouldn't be this crazy migration. And so we would help Greenland and their citizens. And it's just so unique to where Denmark owns Greenland, but Greenland wants to be independent of Denmark and independent of everyone. But they cannot necessarily have that wish because of the situation with how secluded they are. They need other countries to help keep their government afloat. They don't generate enough money. And so the United States obviously can help them with that with a huge infrastructure commitment. We just have to turn the Greenland politicians and have them educate their citizens on why this is good through bribery, through an education. I mean, we see what Trump wants to do here. I'm going to read some of this. This is the thing. I'll go through these articles, but I need to start reading them on video because, I'll talk about them, but I won't read them. So you've got 57,000 people asked if they should join the United States. Mr. Trump's advisors have discussed using advertising and social media campaigns to sway public opinion on the island. According to another person briefed on the matter, it may be an uphill battle. Oh no, it certainly will be an uphill battle. But because of the amount of money the United States has, we can very easily shift it. But I agree, and I've said that it's very unpopular. In the United States, it's unpopular, although I think a lot of people don't really care about it. And by the way, now these liberals are starting to come out and say, like, they'll say Trump is having a horrible 2 months or 2.5 months, and they'll cite him trying to acquire Greenland as a reason why. Like, we're gonna, like seriously, do you want me to lay out every minute detail on why this acquisition is going to be amazing for America? You've even got liberal experts saying, I mean, what Trump is doing, yeah, he has to acquire Greenland. We need Arctic control based off of what we're seeing in the Arctic, the Chinese influence, the influence of the Russians, and how much of the Arctic they control because of their country and how close it is to the Arctic. They'll even say it's very important. And they'll even say we need to have a different relationship with Canada because of the Northwest Passage and controlling that. And this is all future control. So this is going to happen one way or another with the climate shift, with everything that's happening in the Arctic. Trump is just going at it proactively in a quick manner. And it's like, oh, he's trying to take over Greenland. Well, yes, because this is a situation that's going to come up in the future. It's very important to have this territory. So, but it's like, how does this only have a 20% approval rating? And people have to start waking up and understanding this is not a fascist conquest. This is a strategic acquisition in which the people of Greenland are going to be giving a significantly upgraded quality of life because of the United States investment. And how about just an investment into these people to where we'll pay them, $10,000 a year, whatever it is. I said there was going to be bribing. This is what happens. And the people are like, oh, you're using our tax dollars. No, it's from Doge, and there's going to be a huge boom if we do this, because we're only talking about paying a few $1 billion here and there, whatever, to these people. And we're going to get around, I mean, they estimate it's, just on the coastlines, they say, well, it's about $5 to $10 trillion in rare earths, in lithium, in extremely important material and resources that are used to produce renewable energy sources, EVs, car batteries, and things like that. So this is all very important, but you can see it's an uphill battle, right? Trump posting the 90-second video on social media talking about how the United States took positions on Greenland to prevent the Nazi invasion after Germany had occupied Denmark. That was early on. It was Denmark and Holland that Hitler went after originally when it came to Western expansion of Nazi Germany. And so, yes, when you're talking about Denmark owning Greenland, Denmark being invaded and occupied by Germany, the United States took up a military base on Greenland to save it from a potential Nazi conquest. And that did happen in the 1940s. So, this idea, this bad mouthing of the United States, we saved them from being occupied. They're not allowed to have a military because, under the current, I mean, even if they had a military, it's 57,000 people, they're not going to be able to adequately defend themselves. Now, the question is, are they feared of being invaded right now? Obviously not, because if they were, they would do a deal with the United States for protection. But because of their location in between Europe and North America, they think they're completely safe. You can see this. This is where it is. Trump administration also studying financial incentives for Greenlanders, including the possibility of replacing the $600 million in annual subsidies that Denmark gives the island with an annual payment of $10,000 per Greenlander. And so you're talking about giving people money, and that's what we thought was going to happen. It's not this new thing. This has been rumored for a while. People are like, we'll just give them a lump sum payment because there's only 57,000 people there. You can do this. You've got Trump officials believing that costs could be offset by new revenue. Yep, this is exactly what it is. New revenue from the extraction of Greenland's natural resources, rare earths, minerals, copper, gold, uranium, oil. Absolutely. And so we get a complete offset of the $10,000 just in mining capacity. And on top of that, we get the strategic presence in the Arctic. And so much of the Greenland is part of the Arctic Circle. If you look at a map and you look at the top of it and the circle, and there's so much of Greenland that's within that area. And so it's a huge presence within the Arctic Circle. And it's a huge presence in the Arctic alone to be able to acquire this territory. And it's going to be a huge boom, and we don't even know the amount of natural resources and rare earths that they have. It's probably over $5 to $10 trillion because, again, you're talking about the deposits along the coastline, not even inland. When you get maybe glacier melt, and those can all be extracted because along the coastline, especially during the summer, you will get lukewarm temperatures. It's not always negative 10 degrees. It's a lot more mild on the coast. So that's just the situation. I do think you can see this is about natural resources. In a way, it is about critical minerals and natural resources. It's also about security. It's also about presence within the Arctic. There's a number of things going on here. And it's also about the access to certain waterways, like the Northwest Passage, like the Davis Strait, like access closer to Europe and the Northern Atlantic Ocean as well. So there's a lot that goes on when it comes to this acquisition and how it's so important, and we've discussed this, and right now there's just a messaging issue, and we need to turn the tide, and I think the way to do that is through the government within Greenland, and then once they have a different rhetoric and they pitch this and they change their minds on the entire thing, whether you want to bribe the government or whatever, I mean, just you get them to change their minds, because we want to do this diplomatically. Trump could just invade and take it over, and no one would say, well, people would be very angry, of course. That's why Trump's not doing it. But he could do it logistically very easily. Europe would be very upset with that. I agree. But I'm just saying he could do it if he wanted to. But he doesn't want to anger people. So he's saying, let's diplomatically process this. And we understand we're not liked right now within Greenland. They've been flooded with this horrible EU propaganda against the Trump administration to make us seem like fascists. They're saying we're taking over Greenland. It's fascism. It's disgusting. It's conquest. That's not what this is at all. And by the way, us acquiring Alberta would not be conquest either. They would be joining the United States. Greenland would be joining the United States once we offer them certain assurances. So this is all done where the citizens want to join the country, and that's the key thing when it comes to territorial acquisition in the 21st century, and that's what Trump is starting to realize, and why they're pivoting and saying, well, they didn't want to accept Vance there. Vance wasn't able to do any public appearances. I think that was a bad job by the administration. If I'm sending Vance to Greenland, I'm already bribing these officials and saying, this is what we're going to give you. Let's get Vance out there. We're not going to waste a trip to Greenland. We need to get Vance with the people of Greenland, the citizens there. It's so important that the propaganda gets pumped into these people, and we can start the positive dialogue to the acquisition. The other question is, where is Denmark in all of this? Because you would think, this is the issue. when you look at the relationship of the dynamic, Greenland wants to be independent of Denmark eventually. When will that be? We don't know. But they want to be independent of Denmark. So, do you just negotiate with Denmark? Does Denmark not want to negotiate with the United States? Would Denmark be open to negotiating with the United States because they have so little leverage, because Greenland already wants to be freed from Denmark as the territorial owner? I mean, if I was Denmark reading into this, I would be like, United States, please come to me. Please give me $30 billion or $20 billion or whatever, and you can have Greenland. Because it's like, you're going to lose them for nothing otherwise. But that's how dumb these European countries are. They just hate Trump. They don't care. They don't even want to help their own country. So it's like, you know what? We won't negotiate with Denmark at all. We need Greenland to separate from Denmark through a referendum. And this is all after Trump says we're going to give you X, Y, and Z. So it gives the people of Greenland a reason to want to join the United States over being a part of. I mean, there really shouldn't be a reason. The United States can offer Greenland 100 times more in terms of infrastructure buildup, in terms of military protection than Denmark. It is absurd. They are just pumped with EU propaganda. That is the only reason why you would want to stay with the EU and with Denmark over the United States. But this is what you have to do because this is just how the propaganda is within Greenland right now. And I understand there's also the idea, and this is what countries do, they'll galvanize around, we want to be independent, we don't want to be owned by anyone, screw this. That's why they're trying to leave Denmark, even though Denmark gives them money every year to stay afloat and keep their economy up. Because there's bullheadedness within culture, and I understand it. You want to be independent, I get it. But this protection will help you, and we need it for access to the Arctic, and we need it for rare earth extraction, and you're going to be getting a cut of the rare earth, just like what happened in Alaska. When Alaska got statehood, they got a cut of what was mined. So all of this is hopefully going to happen. We'll have to see, but you know, Trump has definitely had a rhetoric to where he wants Greenland. He's pushed for Greenland. You had Don Jr. visiting Greenland. You had Vance visiting Greenland. And when Trump goes to Greenland, I can guarantee you Trump's going to make sure they welcome him, the citizens welcome him with open arms. We want to do this diplomatically. We want to turn this situation around. This is extremely unpopular. A lot of Americans do not want this to happen because they're not educated on it. They're using it against Trump and saying that he's a fascist for doing this. This is a total misrepresentation of the potential acquisition, the annexation of Greenland. Total misrepresentation. There's 57,000 people there. Is Denmark fascist for owning Greenland, who wants to be independent of Denmark? Greenlanders want to be independent of Denmark, yet Denmark still owns them. So is Denmark fascist for owning a country they're not even connected to? Connected to in the physical sense, I mean, in terms of their, I understand they have a territorial, historical claim to Greenland, but it's not like they share a border and they have control of them. I meant physical sense of land connection. So, like, the whole point of it is, the Greenland acquisition hopefully will happen, but it has to happen. We would like to have the people of Greenland on board, and you do that through bribery. And people are like, well, it's illegal. No, it's a deal with the government of Greenland, and then they distribute the money to the citizens. So that's why they're talking about it. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Links to that's always in the description.